a day. A month is much too much, or wouldn't you say? A second is too short, an eon too long. A week is just stupid, and so is this song. Ooh, everybody's got a half an hour. Haven't you got a half an hour? This bill only needs a half an hour. So come in and stay.
Live from Bangkok, Thailand, the video podcasting capital of the world, it's the Kirchenbauer Half an Hour. I'm Bill Kirchenbauer. Welcome to Kirchenbauer Half an Hour, where our motto is, I talk to myself all the time anyway, so you might as well listen in. I'd like to give a shout out to Mike Clark, who did the video for the opening, and Jason Willett, who wrote and sang the opening song. I think it's a catchy little tune. So I, along with my partner here, Paul Brumball, take a bow, Paul.
Thank you,
He's
guys.
actually human. There he is. And he's got his little studio. He is in the Bay Area, and I am in Bangkok, Thailand. We thank you for joining in. Couple little things here again. As I always say, like and subscribe. So take your little finger, let me give it here, give me the finger. Let's put it down here, right there. Now, hit that right there. Okay, like. Okay, and then subscribe. Okay, there, that's good. Now call and tell your friends to do the same thing. I have 5,000 followers on Facebook, and I got 1,500 on the Bill Kirchenbauer page. So I want you all to converge on the Kirchenbauer Half an Hour page, and then you can see the show where it should be seen. And then I'll get more people on that, and things will grow. And pretty soon I'll be a huge mass media mogul like Byron Allen. Okay. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today, Bill?
That's good. I see that they put Byron Allen in for Colbert on the show there. I don't know when that's going to start.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Byron Allen.
Are you releasing news to me? Because I didn't even know. So they're actually.
Oh, you didn't know
continuing.
that?
No.
Colbert is gone, and Byron Allen, who I've known for a long time.
Comics Unleashed, right?
Yeah. And I did the Byron Allen when he had a talk show. He made money doing syndication, what they called trade outs. He would call up stations in Omaha and go, look, what are you doing at 1:30 in the morning? Well, I got a show I'm going to give you. I've got some commercials in it. There's some black spots in there that you can sell local commercials, and you're good to go. Free programming. And so he made a lot of money doing that, giving people free programming that they could run whenever they wanted, and they can sell local advertising. And then he got his national advertising on there. So then he started doing these fake court shows that were all scripted. And then he bought the Weather Channel. And so he's got billions of dollars, one of the most wealthy people. But the guy is not funny. He's never been funny. I did a quick little story. I did his did I tell this story before already?
We'll find out.
Okay, well, I thought you'd know by now.
Okay, it's a Byron Allen story? I don't remember.
Yes. Okay. So he had a talk show for a little while. He bought himself a talk show, which he did the same thing with. He offered it for free, sold national commercials, and put black spots in it for local. So it was on late night. They'd play it different times wherever, and he sold it to a lot of stations. Back when syndication of television was big. And he had it in, I did it a couple times, actually. Listen, he's a nice enough guy. He's just not, this is going to be a little demonstration of how he operates.
Sure.
The second time I did it, I was on with Jim Carrey. And I've known Jim Carrey. We're not big buddies or anything. We, never had dinner together, but we knew of each other. And Jim Carrey was also on the show. So I'm in Jim Carrey's dressing room. And we're talking, we're bullshitting about stuff. And in walks Byron, and he goes, hey, guys, I'm glad to have you on the show and everything. Bill, I got your thing there. And so Jim, what do you want to talk about? And Jim says, well, Byron, I'm from Canada. He said, it's really cold up there. So I got a lot of jokes about how cold it is in Canada and the jokes. And my parents, we lived, gave him a couple little cues. And then Byron goes, "Oh, okay, great. So we go out and start the show. I'm on first. I go out and do my stand up. I go over talk to Byron. I move over. Some other guest comes on, and then Jim Carrey comes on. Jim, now this is before he was a huge star. He comes out, he does his bit, and he's always been very funny with his impressions. Big Hit comes over and sits down, and he sits down as a beat. The music stops. The audience stops and stares. And Byron turns to Jim and says, "So, Jim, Canada."
And this
And
is
I
the whole
thought-
thing about cold or anything.
And I thought, you lazy son of a bitch. That's the best you can do? You can't
Wow.
pillow it a little bit? You can't say,
Right.
"So Jim, I understand you're from Canada. It's how is it like coming up there? I hear it's cold. I was up there. Cushion it a little bit. Do
Right.
a little bit of work, not just so Jim, Canada." It's like pushing a button on people. That's it. Okay, so I don't know how that's gonna go. I watch Comics Unleashed. It's all scripted. In fact, if you sit and watch it, he had little 3x5 cards there. All he does is ask questions and go, "Hey, I'm a star of a show." So
Yeah,
I don't know how
I've
long
never
that's gonna
really,
last.
let's say per se, liked his comedy, but and
He's not really a comedian. He was on Real
Right.
People because he was young. His mother was a network executive at NBC. That's one of the reasons he got an NBC. His comedy was just bland as anything. But he worked. He went into the business, and he's done very well for himself.
right.
I don't know, but I just think that of course, when I look at all the talk shows, they all look, which I don't. They all look alike. A lot of them are alike. I like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't watch the other guys.
I don't watch the
So
Tonight Show like I used to. I used
no,
to
I don't
be a
watch the Tonight Show.
devotee when it was Carson, right? Even
No,
in the
they
beginning with Lemon,
used to.
it was
You
okay.
used to watch it because there was going to be the new comedian on that you
Right.
never saw before.
Right.
Every week Johnny had one or two comedians on, or it was like a variety show.
Right.
And now there's people on there I don't even know who they are. Being in an entertainment business for as long as I have, which is 40 years, probably, maybe more. I don't want to count that much. I have mixed with other entertainers, and sometimes they're comedians and sometimes they're not. I've gotten to know a lot of magicians, which is the subject for our talking tonight. Magicians are very interesting people. I found them generally to be pretty intelligent people. I don't think I've ever met a stupid magician because I don't know. It's like broadcast. I have a few guys that are game show hosts and broadcasters and talk show hosts and stuff, and they're broadcasters, and they too, they're all pretty smart. They're not dumb. But magicians are, they hold the secrets to the world. I've always said that magic is one of the few performing arts that you can buy in a store. I once wanted to do some magic in my show. Judy Carter did a thing called the zombie ball. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where they hold up a cloth and then this ball appears above the
Right.
cloth.
Out of the middle. Right.
Right out of the middle and bounces around, and you've got your two hands here, and it bounces, goes underneath there, and I was fascinated by. She did it with a carrot, I think, or something, and I was enthralled with it. I thought this is fabulous illusion. I don't know how to do it. So I went to the magic store, which is still on Hollywood Boulevard, where a lot of people mail order. I think they still do a lot of online stuff, but you can buy magic. You gotta study it. I mean, you can buy little tricks that you do nothing to, and it requires no talent. And then there's other ones where you have to have, some talent. I have a friend of mine, Charlie Fry, who I consider one of the. He's a magician, and a juggler, and a clown, and an artist. He's very, very one of the most interesting people I've ever. And he's fun to go to dinner with. He makes forks fly around and stuff like that. But he does a bit that takes talent. I mean, you just can't buy this in the store. He has this bit. I'll try to describe it to you as much as possible. I've seen him do it many times. I've never seen anybody else that do it to him. He takes a cane, a black cane, and he puts a bowler hat on top of the cane.
Okay.
Like this. Then he puts, he drapes a vest over, hangs it on the cane, so it's hanging down. Then he puts a bowler hat on top of that.
Okay.
Then he puts a cigar on the brim of the hat. And then he takes the whole thing, takes it up, and balances it on his chin. So he's balancing this chin, and he's got this, the cane, the vest, the hat, the cigar, and he goes, boom. One step forward. He's got the cigar in his mouth, the hat on his head, is wearing the vest, and the cane in his hand.
Wow.
There's no trick to this. there's no trick. He actually does it. And so there's magic that is, hey, look, I bought a $5,000 box. I can make girls disappear.
Right.
And people like my friend Charlie Fry. If you ever get a chance, watch a guy. In fact, I put a video up of him once on my Facebook page called George Carl. He's dead now, but he didn't say a word. And consequently, he could work all over the world. He was American, but he would work in France. And I thought he was French for a long time, but he's not. But he had a silent act. It was a vaudeville act. And he'd come out and get his fingers stuck on, look up George Carl on YouTube, and you'll see him. He was on the Ed Sullivan show. He was and he just had this simple little act where he'd tangle himself. He'd never say a word, and it was just absolutely hilarious. And whether that's magic or not, I don't know. I was lucky enough to know Ricky Jay. If you ever know Ricky Jay, he has since passed. He was a card guy, and he was a master. Some say he was the master of all time of cards. He could take a card and throw it across the room and stick it in a watermelon. He had a one-man show on Broadway called Ricky Jay and his 52 Assistants, and all he did was card tricks, and he was absolutely phenomenal. And he was also a very good actor. He was in several Louis Mamet films. But the man was just incredible. I also had a friend of mine who was a magician, and his name was Max Maven. And I met him because he was on the Mork and Mindy episode that I did called the Drive, She Said, is the episode. And he was not a magician. He was a mentalist, which is even more interesting. It's like this Oz guy that Trump was going to have appear at the foreign press thing, or the White House thing.
The White House correspondence.
Yes, he's a mentalist. He can read your mind, supposedly.
Right.
Like Kreskin.
Right.
Kreskin is old, and I think he might have died, actually. And Kreskin's big gimmick was that he had to find his check for the night, the payment for the check, in the audience. And so he'd say, well, folks, the show is over, but for my finale, I have to find my check. The managers of the audience have somehow hid it somewhere in this auditorium, and I have to find it, and I have 5 minutes to do it. And if I can't, I don't get paid. And then he'd go out in the audience, and he'd always find the check. But then I knew a guy that managed him later on in life, and he said he got a call from him one night. He was working some gig, and he'd done a show, but he couldn't find his way back to his hotel.
Oh, jeez.
But he was
he could find the check in an auditorium, but he couldn't find his way back to his hotel.
Yeah, right. And then there was the Amazing Randy, and he was.
I loved Amazing Randy.
Yeah, well, he was a magician, but he spent most of his life disproving charlatans and showing how Uri Geller was making the spoon bend. Yes. Most magic, if you really look at it, you know how they do it, is a lot simpler than you're thinking. People tend to complicate stuff. That's why magicians hate doing shows for kids, because kids are simple minded. They don't complicate it. And they go, well, you had it in your other hand, whereas people want to complicate. Well, he must have had a string with a wire and electronic thing and stuff like that. Magician comedy, going back to the zombie ball. So I went and bought this zombie ball thing. I went down to Hollywood Boulevard, and it turned out to be a little wire, hard, stiff wire that wrapped around my finger with a cork on the end of it and a ball stuck on the cork. And you could kind of do this with it while you're holding the thing behind it and move it around. If you got good at it, it was kind of a performance thing. And I actually did it in my act for a little bit and exposed it. And some of the magicians said, you can't do that, man. You can't expose the
trick, right?
They can't do that. And then Fox had a whole series of magicians exposing how they do it.
Oh yeah, I remember that with all the masked magicians because they didn't want to show who they were.
I know who that guy was. He got exposed and he was blacklisted from.
Oh yeah,
They hated him.
Well, even the Amazing Randy there, he kind of got a lot of flack for it. Even Houdini at the end of his life did that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, Houdini was a big believer in the afterlife. And he always claimed that he would come back. But there's been all sorts of stuff. People that did seances, and it's now I'll tell you a story. I was working with Gary Muldeer at the Princess Hotel in Bermuda many years ago, and it's a beautiful old hotel. They serve English tea in the afternoon, and we're doing a show. And I get to the first day, and we had to do a show at night. It was me, Gary Muldeer, and a guy that had a dove act where he did all doves. That's all he did, nothing but doves. And so I meet him during the day, and him and his wife, and she was his assistant. And by the way, they always used pretty girls, with big boobs and little on, as a distraction.
Sure.
They're not there because they're pretty, or they are there because they're pretty. They got big boobs, and there's something that you probably rather look at than the fact that he's sneaking balls into his pocket.
Right. So it's all about the misdirection.
Misdirection is, and if you watch magicians, you can see them grabbing stuff if you really watch closely.
Wouldn't that be a great name for an assistant for a magician? Misdirection.
Yeah, I like that. There was a big magician woman, really cute girl, who lived with Rich Little for a while. Melinda, that was her name. So anyway, getting back to this guy. So we're in Bermuda, and I meet him during the day, and his wife, and everybody's normal and everything. And then that night we come backstage, and we're backstage, and I see him. He's got his tuxedo on because proper magician always has a tuxedo. Right. And he's back there, and I went up to him, and I went to give him a pat on the back and say, "Have a good show." I went, "Hey, having a good show," and he saw me lift it. He goes, "No." And I go, "What?" He goes, birds.
You were to kill a pigeon or a dove or something. Yeah,
that's exactly right. He said he'd had people do that, come up and hap him or give him a big hug. He killed 2 of his birds. There's nothing worse than making a bird appear, and it's like, So I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, birds. And but he had with these guys. I'm exposing again. If you got to watch them because they'll go up close to their jacket, and what they had with the birds, what they do is birds are very malleable. You can wad a bird up into a little thing, and then they pack it and they wrap it in a little piece of cloth like a taco, and then they put a loop on it that's made out of fishing line, and they put it in their pockets with these little loops sticking out. And so when they want to make a bird appear, they put their hands over here and they hook them thumb into that little wire loop, and they pull out the bird, and they have it in its little taco wrapping, and then they just unwrap it. Voila, a bird appeared. But they're always doing things like this, reaching off here, so you won't look down here, so you won't see them grabbing things from behind themselves or thing, and doing. I do a little magic myself, but you got to watch their hands. They do. They put things in their hand, and oh no, it's over here. No, so I used to do. It's fun to do dog magic. You ever do magic for your dog? You know a little bit of magic. You don't have to do it real well. You take a ball, you put it in your hand, and then you pretend to put it in this hand, put it over here, Shows it down, open it up, and the dog goes, "How did you do that?" They're really easily fooled. But I do. I had a friend of mine, Mitchell Walters. He was a real derelict kind of comedian. But we went down to Mexico once, Tijuana. We were working in San Diego, and I had this old Mustang, and the upholstery was terrible. And if you went to Tijuana, still, I think, go down there, you can get your upholstery redone for like $200. And so we go to this upholstery place, and the guy says, "Well, it'll take a couple hours." And Mitchell was a pretty good magician.
Right.
And he pulled out a deck of cards and he started doing magic. And all he had to know was negro and rogue, red and black, and some numbers, I think, in Spanish. And he just kind of started doing it for the guys that worked at the place. And they were just like, they were just, and pretty soon he's out on the sidewalk there, and people are closing their stores and coming over. He must have had about 50 people and kids and stuff hanging around, and he'd do little tricks with cigarettes and stuff, and making, he put the cigarette up his nose and then put it down here by his dick and make it pop out. And in fact, I had a friend of mine, Tom Mullica, who did Red Skelton for me. He was a great Red Skelton impersonator, but earlier in his life, he was a magician, and he still was until the end. And he was the last of the people that had a cigarette eating act. If you go on YouTube and look up Tom Mullica, you can watch him do the last of one of the old great time vaudeville acts, which is he would put cigarettes and make them appear and swallow them, and make them come back up and put chew them up, and then it's just amazing. And he wasn't a smoker, which was even weird. And he always had this line. People say, "How do you do that?" And he'd say, "I burn the fuck out of my mouth." But he was the last person that did that. My friend Charlie Fry, he has a flea circus, and it's a thing that you build, and it's a whole illusion. You tell people there's fleas and everything, but it's actually like a mechanical thing where it makes it look like the fleas jumped off the diving board, and then the water splats up. It's an amazing thing. He only does it for like private people. I asked him if I could record it once, and he let me record it, but he didn't want me to put it on video. It's an amazing. He's just an amazing guy. And then Harry Anderson was a friend of mine too. Harry was a street performer. Did a lot of the Three Card Monte stuff in New Orleans when he was growing up. Harry did geek stuff. Now, if you don't know what geek stuff is, you probably heard the word geek. It was a term that carnival. It's a carny word, and it's for people that swallow swords and do different things, light fires, eat fire, do things to themselves, and Harry did a few geek things. One of them was the needle through the arm. He used to take out a hat pin. It was about this long, and he didn't show this to people. Now that he's dead, I don't feel like because nobody else is doing this. But it was again, look it up, Harry Anderson arm trick or whatever. And he let me watch him prepare for it, but it was an amazing illusion. And what it was he would take out a hat pin about this long and hold out his arm, and he would take this pin and put it right here, like in his arm, and stick it in his arm, and you would see it go in there, and it would come out about 3 inches over here, and then blood would start coming out, and he'd wipe it down a little bit and stuff, and pretty soon he'd get it in, halfway in, and then he'd wiggle it, and women would faint, women would scream, and people would go, "Oh my God, is that?" He goes, "Hey, it's a trick. It's a trick." That's what he kept saying to him. "Hey, it's a trick. But he looked at it and he goes, but I see you sticking a needle in your arm," and he pulled it out. And what it was, again, you want to complicate it, rubber cement. He would put rubber cement on his arm, and then he had a needle, and had a bulb in it at the end with fake blood.
Yeah.
And when he would stick it underneath the rubber cement that was on his arm. And you couldn't tell that it was,
Right.
and it would look like it went into his skin. And then he'd squeeze that bulb, and blood would come out the tip and work its way down and then hit his arm and then spread out. And it would look like blood was coming out of the incision in there. And then he'd wiggle it back and forth, and people go, ah! but people are just crazy. But Harry was a very funny guy. He was he and his wife. He had the straitjacket bit that he was famous for. Where he and his wife would have a straitjacket contest, and he'd put her in a straitjacket in a chair, and then he'd have a straitjacket, and she'd start getting ahead of him, and he'd reach over and kick her over. She'd be sitting in the chair, and she'd fall over onto the stage, and it was very funny. He was a very unique guy. He had muskrats. No, not muskrats. Oh, what do you call those little things? They're like
Ferrets.
Ferrets. Yes, he had a
There
room
you
in
go.
his house. He had a room in his house where he kept about 6 ferrets.
Oh, wow.
And they were very musky. He collected jukeboxes, and but magicians are very interesting. All I can say is if you watch them close enough, you can usually don't complicate it, and you can see how they do it. The levitation things. David Copperfield used to come to my shows. He wanted me to write for him, and I had dinner with him one time, but he didn't want to pay me anything. He goes, "Well, we'll see about it." I go, "First of all, if I write a funny joke, I'm going to do it for myself." He used to run around with these leather jackets with these huge epaulets to make him look like he was it's kind of a
Like a
scrawny
padded
guy.
shoulders kind of thing.
Yeah, make him look like a big tough guy. He came to see my show in Hawaii one time, and he shows up and he's in this black. Now this is Hawaii in a black leather thing with the big epaulets, and I said, "David, this is Hawaii. Why do you run around in leather? You should have shorts and a Hawaiian shirt on."
Right.
And he laughed because he knew that I knew that he was wearing it. It makes him look better. Now, on the other hand, we talked about mentalists and we talked about magic. David Copperfield. One thing, he made the Statue of Liberty disappear. You remember that?
Right. Yes.
Okay. You know how he did it?
How'd he do it?
Okay. So he put all these people on these chairs on this island at night, and he had a big curtain, and he'd open up this curtain, and then you could see the Statue of Liberty. Okay. And then he'd close the curtain. He'd say some magic incantations. Then he'd open the curtain, and the Statue of Liberty was gone.
Right.
How did he do that? Did he have people come in and tow the Statue of Liberty away? Did he lift it? How did he do it? All these people were sitting on a big lazy Susan.
And they just turned it.
And all they did was very slowly turn the lazy Susan so that they was, and he bullshitted while they did it off until the point that they couldn't see the Statue of Liberty. And then he opened up the curtains and it was gone. Why? It was over there.
Yeah. So I remember the same kind of trick where he did it with the airplane.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. It was like
the helicopters. There's a guy in Vegas that makes things. The Tigers, remember Siegfried and Roy before they got bitten by their own act.
Right.
Then there is we bring us to what I call one of the lowest forms of entertainment, hypnotism.
Gotcha.
Hypnotism. Now, there is such a thing as hypnotism. It's usually done by people that know what they're doing. And it's called clinical hypnotism. And there are some limitations to it, but people have turned it into a show, and people love it. People just they go to office parties. Hey, Larry, and let's bring 25 people to the hypnotist show. You get up on stage and thing, and if you ever watch one, this is how it usually goes. Who wants to volunteer to be hypnotized? Okay, come on up here. And so they start with about 20 people, or as many people as they can get up on stage. And it should really be called intimidationized, because what it is they just play along with it. These people, they want to pretend like they're hypnotized, and they spend most. If you ever watch a whole show, they spend most of their time eliminating people, because when the hypnotist sees that this person is not going along with the crowd, going along with the plan, then you can sit down. They do a lot of sitting down. That's why they start with 20 of them, and they whittle them down to about 5. And they're not going. They're not above. Sometimes you'll see them. Not sometimes you'll see them go over to one of the people and whisper something in their ear, and you think they're giving a hypnotism talk. Oh, you're falling asleep. You're not. And what they're really doing is saying, do whatever the fuck I tell you. Don't do anything else. Just do whatever the fuck I tell you. All right, do exactly what I tell you. So the person's going, oh, the star of the show just told me to do it. So they go along with it, and they'll act like a chicken, or act like and of course they, oh, you're gonna stand up and pretend all of a sudden you're naked. Oh, I'm naked. Oh, no. And they do it, and all their friends laugh. Oh, they think, and it's just everybody going. What it is mass hysteria, at least with the people up on stage, and the people in the audience. They know the people up on stage, and it's an excuse for the people to be up on stage to be the center of attention, and they just go along with it.
Right.
So in other words, it's a long, extended period of excluding people who won't go along with the plan, and then a bunch of bullshit, like people acting like they're hypnotized. And then the show's over, and he's a great hypnotist. And it's all bullshit. There was a guy, a friend of mine, Ross Schaefer, and I were in, you might remember this guy. I forget what his name was, but he was on Letterman a few times. He called himself the fastest hypnotist in the world. And he wore dark glasses, and he'd come on. I forget what his name was.
But he could put you under in a flash.
Yes. And he had a hypnotism show. It was at the Sahara. So my friend Ross Schaefer, Ross knew him. And so we went to see the show. And what he had at the end of the show was he'd pick a girl out of the audience and put her head on chairs. He'd have regular chairs. And he put her head or neck on one chair and her legs on the other chair. And then he'd stand on her.
Oh,
he'd hypnotize her and then stand on her. And that was his big thing. And he said, if anybody can prove that what I'm doing up here is fake, I'll give them $100,000 or 10,000. Maybe it was 10,000. And so that was the end of the show. It was a regular hypnotism show.
Right.
And so we go backstage, and Ross knew him, and then he knew me. He'd seen me. So he said, why don't you guys come over to my house? I got this house. And we weren't doing anything. It was like, 11, midnight, both on our shows. So we follow him over to his house. He's got this mansion in this place. And we go inside, walk inside, beautiful place, staircase, marble and shit. I look in the kitchen, and there's the girl that he had up on stage with him, standing on. She's making herself a sandwich.
Right.
And I said to him, I think you owe me $100,000.
Or whatever the amount was, right? Exactly.
Whatever it was. And he said, oh, she's just a friend of mine. She comes to all my shows. And I thought, bullshit. I thought, bullshit. So then the guy says, I wish I could remember his name. He says, I own a tiger. And I said, okay. That's what I said. Oh, okay. He said, yes, it's upstairs. You want to go up and see it? And I said, no. And he says, and this is talking to Ross and I. He says, you want me to bring it down? I said, no. First of all, I don't think you got a tiger. And he said, I'll bring it down. I said, no. That's okay. I don't need to. I think he was bullshit. But he didn't bring it down. I didn't insist on seeing it. But I walked away with the whole feeling that this guy was just one big bullshit artist.
Right. Oh my gosh. And
so I say to all people that when you go to see these hypnotist shows, bear in mind, it's just one big put on. It's like the lowest form to me, it's just right up there with hitting pinatas. It's not even a good trick. It's just people going along with it, doing what I say. If you're up on, and picture yourself, you've been called up on stage, you're sitting there, and then the head guy comes on, Dick Clark or whoever, Ed Sullivan or whatever, comes over and whispers in your, just shut the fuck up and do whatever I tell you to do. Don't do anything else. Do exactly what I tell you to do. You're going to go along with the plan.
Right.
And that's what theatrical and hypnotism is. It's not worth your dollars, folks. It's a bunch of bullshit. You might have fun. I'm not saying it's, but they're a dime a dozen. Hypnotists are, you can hire, they're everywhere you go. There's somebody that's a hypnotist because they just learn how to do it somehow. And it works and people get a kick out of it, especially if you get enough people. Kind of mass hysteria sets in the whole room. And just everybody goes along with it. And they laugh and they have a good time. There was one guy who was a hypnotist. He was a dirty hypnotist. He had a lot of dildos and fuck dolls and all this. And then he'd make people just whatever he could do that was dirty, sexy.
Anything to catch your eye, get your attention.
Anything that could get your eye. He'd hit you over the head with a dildo. But that was his gimmick. And people would scream and they'd laugh and they'd come out of there that's what I just said. Well, you people have a very low threshold for entertainment that I could tell. Of course, I have seen a lot of that kind of stuff, which has been our subject for this evening. How are we doing on time there, Paul?
We are over, but that's okay because you ended on a good story. You ended on a good story.
We ended on a good story. That's a story. Listen, magicians are great people. Hypnotists are a little bit iffy. And please tell your friends, like and subscribe to this show. Watch this show. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Kirchenbauer Haffenhauer on YouTube. It's on Bill Kirchenbauer YouTube channel and wherever Paul decides he can put it. Maybe it'll be coming soon to your local grocery store. So tune in next week. And from Paul and I, all we can say is goodbye.
Ta-da!